Welcome back to Krown's Faceless Cave, of which the old raspy lesbian voice and, of course, spaghetti hair will be back on soon enough in this early coming week. We should be back on, well, I guess for Tuesday's video. We can have some video action going on once again. Anyways, that's not important. What's more important is some magic and money business, because that is probably why you're here. And with that said, we have plenty to talk about today, as Bitcoin did hit the top side of our short-term targeted region from about 41,000 yesterday, after yesterday's morning video from the signal produced actually the day prior. And with that said, we need to follow up on that, maybe talk a little bit of higher time frame stuff, although again I should remind myself that I am very much not in my element right now, seeing as I only have my laptop at my disposal, so it'll have to be or at least I'll have to wait until I have my full battle station in order to really go deep and down and dirty into these charts. But for now, let's see what we can find. And with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the haps of the happiest, and let's get into it right now. Starting off with the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. It is 100% free, by the way, in case you happen to give a fuck, and in case you happen to want to just take your own account or not. It's all good. Either which way, it's no sweat off our backs, and more importantly, we built it, well, mostly for ourselves, actually. But with that said, it should be of value, or at least hopefully it is some value to the people out there. Anyways, with that said, looking at the Bitcoin dominance, what do we see? We do see it kind of holding the top side of the range that we saw from the cratering after Bitcoin kind of breaking out of the short-term time frame range, about 34,500, that is. Now, what does that mean in correlation with each other? Well, we essentially saw a basis of about 60.5% on the app here around that region, and then once Bitcoin started to break out, we started to see Bitcoin dominance once again rally. So what does that suggest? Just that we are still within the context of a rotational market, which is good for the long term, which is speaking towards the overall health of what we're looking at right now. And as Bitcoin does kind of test the top side of its current range, I should say the upside of its current range, that would imply that if Bitcoin does start to break out here, then we are going to see a lot of this shift back into Bitcoin, meaning that Bitcoin dominance goes up, altcoin versus Bitcoin goes down, and I'd imagine that altcoin versus US dollar likely does follow whatever direction Bitcoin does go, and in this case that would very likely be to the upside. Anyways, moving on to the fear and greed index, stuck at an 86 because we're still extremely greedy, and you should be, especially seeing as Bitcoin has gone from about 10,000 to 40,000 bucks in nearly a straight line when looking at higher term timeframes. On top of that, we do see the open interest also headed up a little bit from yesterday to today as well. Now keep in mind that this is a ongoing read, and of course it would actually be better just going to the market data tab over here and align up these two things together, because what we really want to be seeing is price action, open interest, and volume. All in the same pane. And as you can see right here, Bitcoin, as it slowly but steadily rose off the $30,000 level, we did see that open interest was rising with price action, which is very good, or at least for the boo laws here, as it does suggest that this is a reaccumulation within the current narrative of price action. We have patterns, we have trend, we have oscillators, we have moving averages, we have everything and more. But with that said, let me just make sure that I'm recording, that the microphone's working. All right, 3 minutes into this bitch, and yes, the microphone is working, at least as far as I can tell. This shitty blue microphone. Fuck you, Yeti. You're awful. Everyone always goes on about these things. They're okay. They're okay for a USB microphone, but it'll never be as good. But it is good for traveling. Anyways, what I do think is of interest right here, not to use a bad or bad terminology, is that we actually do see open interest hitting new highs alongside this last drive in price action as well. So again, I do like this setup. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, price action matters most, and I want to see price action break out of the top side of the range. Or I mean, in some cases, you might even say that that's already happened, and I'll even make a case for that a bit today. However, this would, once again, be another point on the side of the boo laws case. On top of that, what else we see with the interest rates as we scroll on down here, is that's what I'm really interested in today. And wow, we actually do see several exchanges well above the threshold, actually. OKX above 0.1%, Huobi above 0.1%, Bybit certainly above 0.1%, and funnily enough, FTX, the continual outlier, is now way the fuck down there at 0.046%. So with that in mind, do we see anything actionable as it is? I'd say that it's a little bit less actionable because it is on a Sunday now, a weekend. But if this continues, if you see this sort of similar read with multiple exchanges above that 0.1% threshold, let's call it for another 24 to 36 hours now, seeing as this has been the going rate for a little bit, then I would be looking at this as likely to produce a local high, and Bitcoin likely does come back down somewhere between about $34,000 and $35,000 base. But until that, until that actually is really, set in stone, preferably on Monday, this next coming day, I wouldn't say that's my main interpretation of price action as it is. Other than that, anything else that I want to be looking at right here? Okay, derivatives, open interest per exchange, volume traded. Nah, I'm not seeing anything out of the ordinary, so that leads me to go directly to price action over here. So we'll start off with the secondary charts once again today, and Bitcoin is going to have a chance to do what it almost did yesterday, or at least actually let me just double check. Actually did do it yesterday. Okay, so very interesting. That actually does help out with my short-term bias here. Anyways, Bitcoin did close above the topside Krown band yesterday. Now today is the big test, meaning that if we get both an open and closure above the topside Krown band, or sorry, it doesn't even need to be really opening above the topside Krown band, although in this case, in this case actually it did not. But more importantly, if we even see just a closure, so 2 consecutive closures above the topside Krown band, then that is my identification for trending mode. Sometimes, for the most part, I usually want to, I just want to see one closure above. And in this case, I mean, we kind of already got that, and also closing above horizontal resistance if I put on my drawing tools right here. So typically those two things in line with each other is going to be good enough for more aggressive traders. If you are going to be more on the more conservative side, you want to see this next one closing tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is also going to be the weekly closure. And I'm sure that there's another higher term time frame closing as well, then yes, I would be looking for this to continue onwards and upwards, very likely retesting yesterday's move towards that $41,000 region, and very likely making new all-time highs on top of that with the upside targets that we spoke about yesterday and the day prior and for the last month and a half, still very much viable at about 45,000 and then into the upper $50,000 region. So with that in mind, if the opposite of that happens, meaning that we do close below, and also more importantly close below this horizontal right here, I would look for a greater pullback, and anywhere around the 20 simple at this point, which is actually right smack dab between 34 and 35,000 bucks at 34,500, which was the prior breakout level before, by the way, on the short-term time frames that we saw earlier last week. Then yes, I would be looking for a move back down there, and that likely does turn into another opportunity. Of course, at the end of the day, I do not get long-term bearish on Bitcoin as long as Bitcoin is still above our current higher low structure, which is that 30,500-ish region right here, or wherever the 55 is on the daily, which I imagine is just a few bucks higher than that at the current moment in time. So, if Bitcoin did play out a short-term downside move to 34,500, I don't look at that as anything relevant towards the macro direction or even the long-term direction in this case. And of course, below 34,500, that is relevant for the medium-term direction. Yes, I mean we are talking about a $4,000 move there. However, I do want to be very, very clear and deliberately separating all of the different timeframes analysis, because it can be a little bit confusing sometimes. I definitely understand, especially for newer people coming into a market like this or coming into trading, and it's like you're talking about an idea on a daily time frame, and then someone will hear that idea and then go down to a 5-minute and start freaking out when they see that not happening. Well, understand that when you're talking about a daily, you're on a daily schedule. You're talking about, half a week to about a week's price action. You're talking about a fucking 5-minute. You're talking about maybe like the next 20 to 30 minutes of price action, completely different mindset. So please do understand that, and of course that is differential between short-term timeframes, medium timeframes, and high and macro timeframes, which people will admittedly define differently themselves. And there's not really like a dictionary definition for this. Not that it really matters. We just need to be on a common thread of English so that we can understand each other. And so the way that I define these things for Bitcoin specifically, this is not applicable to to traditional or forex. This would be much lower, but for Bitcoin, low-term timeframes is 4-hour and below. In my opinion, medium-term timeframes is 4-hour to 12-hour, maybe even daily is included in there. High-term timeframes, daily to 3-day, and macro timeframes, weekly and greater, even up to a monthly almost, although Bitcoin still doesn't have too much history. Anyways, I just need to take a sippy sip of this water because I am motherfucking thirsty right now, and I'll be back in just a second. All right. Good for another 5 minutes, I think. Anyways, finger bar momentum also knows over here. I want to once again reflect upon this. Daily MACD still very much in a bullish posturing. Will remain in a bullish posturing as long as Bitcoin is above basically our long-term pivot to the downside at 31,500 about, we'll call it, which I imagine that's probably where the 55 is at the current moment in time too. So Bitcoin did come back down around there. That actually would be an obvious at the very least for a bounce play. Now, more importantly, we do see that the DMI ADX is starting to get a little bit more lift off here. We do see that the DMI Plus is very obviously above the threshold, and the ADX now really strengthening as well. I want to see this next tick coming into tonight's closure once again get a positive curvature on the DMI DMI plus. If that happens, extremely likely that is met with new highs in this run, actually. And at this point, new highs in this run would essentially insinuate a breakout. And if it essentially insinuates a breakout, then we can talk about, as I said, targets towards 45,000 and beyond. On top of that, if we go over to, is there anything else I want to talk about here? Maybe a 12-hour really quickly. Let's see. 12-hour rejection really fast, but comes down to the 9. Yeah, quite normal right there. Not seeing anything too out of the ordinary. Let's see what a 2-day says, perhaps. 2-day rejection off the top side shoulder band, but not a death sentence in and of itself. And more importantly, we do see that we actually will get a bullish cross with any sort of a closure above 42,356. So fair enough on that one. Obviously, it just continues to rise above 37,750. So as long as that condition is met, I do look at this as more or less likely to kind of even itself out and give another try to the upside. More importantly, we do see that DMI ADX is getting a bullish signal here on the 2-day as well. So I do like all of this together. And maybe the 3-day, which is closing not tonight, actually. No, closing tomorrow night. So I think the 2-day is the only one that's closing tonight. So we actually will have clarity on this situation later tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. 3-day, a little bit less important. And of course, the weekly coming in tonight as well. So 2-day, weekly, and daily all closing tonight. And what I'd be looking for on the weekly, I really want to see the weekly do one of two things, or if it did both of these things, that would be even more phenomenal for some more upside. And first and foremost, want to see the DMI plus once get a positive slope on this. ADX, same thing, strengthening as well. And if I can get my damn trackpad mouse to work properly, that would be way better for my mental health, I think, because I'm absolutely fucking raging at this shit right now. But yes, weekly's gonna have a chance to close above the top side trolling band here too. That would be met with any sort of a closure above $41,217.60. So it'd be kind of around our current high on this run. But if that condition is met, extremely likely. I mean, now we're being a little bit too careful with our language. I think I can just come out of here and say, hey, if that fucking happens, you're going to see price action very likely going to not just fucking $45,000, but 50,000 and beyond. I'll say it right there. All right. I do like to keep the language a little more curtailed and more conservative, but I mean, that's about as obvious as it gets right there. So fair enough. Now, I do want to also talk about structure just long-term here as well. Like I said, I would kind of avoid more long-term topics just because I don't have my main battle station with me right now. And also, I'm not mentioning the accumulation distribution indicator today. That's not because it doesn't matter. It's just because I beat that fucking horse to death for the last goddamn week. It is bullish, and it's not going to change for another month at the very least. Anyways, looking at this right here. So there is something very important about the weekly, right? If you're looking at this weekly, this would be your next higher or low. Again, assuming that Bitcoin closes basically anywhere here or higher, actually. Anywhere above 38,500 or wherever the closure was on this week. Actually, 38,200, anywhere above there, and that would be continuation of trend. Marking this as your next higher low, and continuation in this case would mean more highs. And if that is, and that coming out of our current range would essentially include very, very much new all-time highs. Again, everything working with each other. But what I want to focus on right here is the fact that this is your literally your second higher low. Your second fucking higher low since this whole mega rally started, I would say back in September, by breaking that, especially breaking that $11,500 region. And that's what made us like very much macro bullish here for like the last half year now. I mean, this has been quite some time, I suppose. So with that in mind, now you can, again, assuming that this is confirmed later today, then that would confirm this is our next higher low, and that means that Bitcoin is, well, now we have a higher base. Now, it is admittedly about $30,000 higher. $20,000. 30,000. What's math? I don't understand. But about $20,000 higher than Bitcoin's last higher low right here at about the $10,000 level. This compared with the $30,000 level right here. So you can see that this would be providing a major macro pivot. And that also means that if Bitcoin starts to creep back down below that region and close below that region, then we will have our first full-on confirmed reversal on a macro time frame. And we can say that the party's over. Do I think that that's what's happening here? Nope, not really. But that would really help with solidifying the conditions for, I suppose, getting a full-on market reversal. Anyways, with that said, into the lower term, the lower term timeframes, but also into my primary charts over here. And what I'd be looking at right now. Okay, so Bitcoin did reject pretty much perfectly off of our last horizontal within this range, $41,000, fulfilling our targeted range. The backside of our short-term targeted range from the last couple of days, which was between 40 and 41,000 bucks, and that was based off of the pivot over here at 34,500 being taken out. So I want to follow up on this for the people who have been here for a while, especially for the people in the program, because a lot of the time I see people say like, "Hey, we just broke this level. Why aren't we at $41,000 yet?" It's like, okay, well, first off, that's a fucking $7,000 goddamn move, you greedy fuck. And second off, understand that this formation, it takes some time. So at the end of the day, this is why I go off of levels rather than time analysis, because one, I haven't really been able to see time analysis be done properly, and two, levels, that's really all that it has to be, breaks this level right here, okay, change of behavior on the short-term time frames, gets a free ride up to 37.5, same thing over here to 41,000 bucks, just taking them one by one. That's the preferred way that I like to trade. I'm not saying that's the only way to trade, but that's my preferred way. That's kept me safe over all the years so far. Anyways, with that said, looking at our momentum oscillators on the short-term time frames, bringing up the Stoke Momentum Index once again, you can see that we're actually heading down right now. I actually don't look at this too very problematic. What I want to be looking at is actually divergence on the histogram here, of which, we don't really have anything for right now. More importantly, we do see that RSI still looking very healthy here, and more importantly, on top of that, we do see that there is potential hidden bullish divergence in the making, but that will only be confirmed, of course, only if, exactly as fucking perturbed, if Bitcoin confirms a higher low, basically anywhere above the 21 exponential average on the 4-hour right here, thus solidifying this as hidden bullish divergence, 1, 2, 3 drives, and initiating targets back up towards 40 and 41,000 bucks respectively. So with that in mind, that would obviously lead into the higher term time frame and even macro time frames that we started off this video with, and that would be the next thing that I'm looking for. That is also accompanied by, let's see, is there anything on volatility? Kind of expanding a little bit right now, quite low, but we're not getting anything too obvious there either. So let's go through all the lower term time frames and see if there's any sort of agreed upon activity. And what do we see right here? Yes, 3-hour Stokes also angled to the south side as well. Will cross back onto the upside above 42,500. So both the 4-hour and the 3-hour actually significantly to the downside. But again, I look for RSI in these sort of market conditions to get these more like trending moves, of which we still see a very good read on the 3-hour and by extension the 4-hour as well. And same sort of potential hidden bullish divergence in the making here as well. Is it confirmed right now? No. Same thing as the 4-hour, needs to confirm a local low here. Anywhere around the 21 would be more than enough. And how do we do that? Well, I'd say any sort of a closure. Well, anything that confirms this as a local low. So any sort of a closure, pretty much back above 39,000 bucks would certainly do it. And again, targets back up to just north of let's call it 40,500 to 41,000 bucks would be initiated, and then that can lead into the daily close and the weekly close that can initiate targets even higher than that, obviously. On top of that, is there anything else? Well, what happens if Bitcoin doesn't confirm a local low here? Then obviously I'd be looking for a move back down to about $36,500 base, probably small bounce there, and then reassess tomorrow. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here because, like I said, I am kind of operating with a not so optimal setup at the moment. Buy hourly, what are we seeing? Buy is already starting to back off a little bit on the histogram. This is actually really why I wanted the histogram, because it can actually tell you when it's increasing or decreasing its momentum. Actually gets it rather well here too. Not perfectly, but good enough. Good enough is all that we need. And 43,400 is the magical number. So you can see that they're all kind of building down upon each other in contrast to what we saw yesterday. And same thing on buy hourly RSI right here as well. It potentially has hidden bullish divergence in progress, but needs to confirm this as a local low. That will be confirmed with any sort of a closure based above, yes, same level, about 39,000 bucks. That would be good enough. And short-term target to about, just above 40,000 bucks would be initiated, and probably does reach for 41,000 bucks. And then we want to be looking at the daily close, of course. Hourly, what are we looking at right here? Same thing. You can see, again, very obviously through the histogram that this is starting to really loosen up its pressure, and I would be looking for across the upside with any sort of move above 40,400. That's rather interesting now, isn't it? Because if we do see that the hidden bullish divergence is confirmed on the lower term time frames, and it does head back up, then that would naturally start to switch this back up on as well. And if you remember yesterday, the big thing with this specific indicator is that you want to be using it only on the side of the general trend, and that's what I like it for. In these sorts of environments where you have a very obvious macro trend, these are the counter trend signal is not going to be very good. It tells you to kind of take when to take some profits or take the foot off the gas pedal, and then these signals within the same direction of the trend, those are typically very good because this one's a little bit more or a little bit less accommodating than your regular default Stokes, for example, even with my slower settings specifically for cryptocurrency land. Anyways, let's go over here to the medium term time frame, see what the 12 hour is saying as it is right now. Bounced off the 10 simple, nice. Do we see anything of particular interest? 12 hour RSI looks like it has a little bit of short-term downside here. Long-term though, very fucking constructive. Again, very, 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 very good. However, short-term, does it come back down and officially test the exponential? Probably yes, but I'd be looking for the next tech back into the bullish control zone to be the big one if this one is going to give another try to the upside in the more immediate future. Daily, what do we have right here? Same, pretty much the same chart. And the daily, actually, I still quite like as well. You can see that momentum will remain to the upside. Pretty much no matter what, as long as Bitcoin doesn't have a $10,000 dump today, which could happen, I guess. 12 hour, same thing, above 33,900-ish region. So, could we have a little bit of downside here? Yes, but keep in mind that within the context of the greater time frames, in this case, 12 hour and daily, even coming back down to test around 34,500 is not anything that would be too damning. And as I said before, if 34,500 does break, then I'd be looking for a move down towards wherever the 55 is at that point, and that's going to be the next macro pivot for myself, which at this point is actually significantly comfortably above our last higher low at the 30,500-ish region. So moving on to the 2-day, what do we see right here? Anything of interest? We do see that 2-day Stokes are going to pop back to the upside with any sort of a closure above 36,100 about. Fair enough on that one. More importantly, 2-day RSI is going to have a chance again today to further continue the signal, of which I'd say that's more or less formality, playing out that hidden bullish divergence back above the exponential. There's a very strong signal right here again in my experience. And you can also see on the 2-day that if Bitcoin did want to come back down and based upon the 21, it's really not out of the ordinary. So we do have big ranges here. We are playing with big numbers, and that means that Bitcoin can very easily come down, $4,000 from this price point. Which I know sounds like a pretty fucking massive move, and it is a fucking massive move. Without a $4,000 move is always a $4,000 move, but within the context of our current numbers, it's not as great as it might sound. And more importantly, with that would once again be an opportunity, at least on the first pass for myself. Bitcoin did come back down around there, so I'm a little bit hesitant to call this one broken out to the upside immediately here. I do think it's very much possible, but still has a few more things to do. 3-day we'll save for tomorrow because it's not closing today, obviously. And keep in mind that CMEs are going to be opening up a little bit later today as well. And CMEs, very healthy coming in this week, I'd say. But remember that they did close around $38,000, so I wouldn't be surprised to see spot price action kind of hang around this level into CME open a little bit later, which is going to be around 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then game on once again. Same thing here. I would certainly not be anywhere not nearly out of the ordinary to come back down to 34,500. So realistically, the question is, in the short-term timeframes, does Bitcoin play out does Bitcoin confirm this hidden bullish divergence or not? If it does, targets back to $41,000, which can set up the higher-term timeframes and accentuate those targets into the mid $40,000 region, and then even deeper $50,000 region. But if that does not happen, if that condition is not met, pretty much by today, actually, the end of today, then I would be probably looking for a greater retracement down to the 34,500-ish level at the very least, and I'd be looking for a bouncer as well, and give it a chance from there. Anyways, so I'm buying all the fucking dips to the down. I'm buying this thing all the way to zero. No, I'm just kidding. But I am quitting trading to go just snowboarding for the rest of my life. It's pretty fucking fun. So no, I'd never do that, actually. It took me too long to get good at trading. Like right now when I'm learning how to snowboard, it's kind of frustrating at times because just as with anything, you suck when you begin. But then I remember like what trading was like, and it's like, yeah, it fucking sucked at the beginning too. So it's like you can't really ever quit because you appreciate those skills so much. So I don't think I could ever actually quit trading or quit technical analysis. Not that, well, I don't know. Do you quit technical analysis? You quit trading? I think trading. Anyways, okay. What else do we want to talk about while we are here? Let's go and check out Ethereum. I think Ethereum is rather interesting yesterday too, because Ethereum did not meet the condition, or sorry, actually before that, let's go back on to Bitcoin. I just want to show the extensions here really quickly. Let's go back on over here. Yes. Okay. So again, if Bitcoin does initiate those lower term time frame signals that we were looking at earlier with the hidden bullish divergences, which again would target moves back up to about 41,000 bucks and can lead into the daily and weekly closure that can initiate those, or sorry, confirm higher term time frame breakouts to the upside, which would be call me crazy, but I'd honestly say that this is pretty much already confirmed with our closure above 39,000, again, 200, I think it was. Yeah, about 200. If you do want to be a little more conservative, I guess another closure above there would be better. Or if you're very conservative, I'd say 40,500, wherever this area is right here, 40,600, then yes, next sort of short-term targets would be initiated anywhere between the 272 right here and the 414. That's 43,750 to 45,250 about in this region right here. I would be looking for a short-term consolidation within this region, and then very, very likely a further extension, not just to the 2 spot here, but actually to the 2 spot 618. That's going to be a real target for this. Now, in more extreme markets, you will see the 3 and the 272 get popped, namely the 3 on that next drive, and that would be in the lower $60,000 region. So I could just as easily say anywhere between about 58,000 and 62,000, again, if that condition is met. There is one counterpoint to this, a very big counterpoint, I should say, and it is this. Typically out of a breakout like this, as always, you can get fake outs, and I think that there's some better ways to kind of document that as well, namely with looking at the volume and participation within that rally. Also, open interest are very easy ways to confirm this. Oh, look at this, Bitcoin's popping back up here. It looks like that hidden bullish divergence might even be confirmed on video here. That'd be just lovely, wouldn't it? Poetic, if you will. But what typically does happen, if a trap is going to happen, it usually comes from this area right here, anywhere between the 272 and the 414, which would be catastrophic and probably send Bitcoin back down wherever the 55 is on the daily, which is currently at about 31,500-ish region. So with all of that in mind, do I think that's what's happening here? No, I don't. I think Bitcoin is macro bullish, and I think that any sort of short-term consolidation there would just be short-term consolidation before further continuation. But I should caution against that area just because maybe if you're listening this long into this video, you're probably a TA nerd. So we can talk about more nuanced topics, and I don't have to feel like people are gonna misinterpret what the fuck I'm gonna say. Although sometimes I could probably do a better job of explaining myself. But in this case right here, I think that this is rather cut and dry. This is like very classic stuff. Anyways, let's go check out Ethereum. See how that one's following through, because that one was leading the market as of a couple days ago. Now backing off a little bit, so let's see how she's doing now. And I would actually still be bullish on Ethereum. Here's the biggest thing for me on Ethereum: if we see any sort of a closure at all, whatsoever, above the topside Trollender band today, coming at 7 p.m. Eastern time above 1532.5, this is specifically on stamp, I believe, then I would be looking for new all-time highs coming into next week. Again, same sort of areas are pretty much still relevant, between about 1,900 and 2,000 bucks. Could obviously go higher than that, but for now, that would be my next my next set of targets based upon that signal. So again, any sort of a closure today above 1532, I would be targeting probably 1,900 or 2,000 bucks in the next week, maybe even 2 weeks. Keep in mind though, big, huge, humongous event tomorrow. That would be the CME future debuts for Ethereum. And you might remember December 17th of the year 2017 for Bitcoin, when it got its own CME futures. Now, usually this is a sell the event type of, event, buy the rumor, sell the news, essentially. And in this case right here, I would say that would apply for Ethereum. However, because we do see rotational markets in effect, it's not like it was in 2017 when it was mostly Bitcoin running this bitch. We do see rotations going on right here. I think that it could very well be that Ethereum perhaps backs off a little bit for some time, maybe consolidates lower or spends some time going sideways, and then Bitcoin takes the reins for a bit, and Ethereum gets to follow it in tune. So with that in mind, I don't necessarily think that we're going to be looking at a major macro reversal here. The only motherfucking way that I'd be looking for a major macro reversal, even consider one from this region, is with a weekly, basically coming out and taking out this week's low, or especially last week's low. Anywhere below 1,300 bucks would be very problematic. Do I think that's what's happening? No. Do I think that Ethereum's going to pretty much do exactly what Bitcoin did within this level when Bitcoin was right below its prior all-time high at 20,000 bucks? Well, yes. I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of sideways consolidation right in the topside tournament, and then boom, girthy green dildos. Well, let's see what happened with Bitcoin when it was right below its prior all-time high right here at about $20,000. Sorry, let me just pull it out. See this right here coming in from 2017 and more recently in 2020. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, massive girthy green dildos and powerful thrusting action to the upside afterwards. So do I think that something was going to happen with butyrol here? Yes, I do. Over time, of course, but I would be cautious around that event again coming in tomorrow. So fair enough. Keep that in mind. Let's go back to stupid trackpad. Fuck this. It's so awful. How do people do? Okay, first off, some people trade on their fucking phone. That's insane. But seriously, how can you even do it on a laptop? This is maddening. You must have an external mouse, which is actually genius. Anyways, anything else here? DMI, ADX, looking fine on the weekly thus far. I don't see any major issues. Daily, same thing, however. DMI Plus, I want to see it get a positive slope. ADX, same shit. If we can see both those things in unison, I'd feel very, 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 very good about this one making new highs this week, actually. Daily MACD, of course, that actually does line up with the downside pivot on the weekly at about 1350, we'll call it. So 1350 is the magical number. As long as Ethereum remains above that, good. However, we are seeing some divergences right here, I should denote, on the MACD histogram, and yes, that very much is confirmed. And we also did get our first closure below the topside trailing band, initiating a move towards a 9 exponential moving average, classic shit right there too. But again, I would give this a chance first and foremost to create a higher low on the lower term timeframes, and then give another try to the upside. So let's go over here to our other charts. Where's my butyrol? Found you, you little bitch. Haha, there we are. Okay, so same thing going on right now, trying to put in a higher low as it stands. If we do see, hey, stop that, notifications. If we do see any sort of a closure, I wouldn't say above the 21, but above 1650, that'll confirm this as another higher low. And guess what? Is there going to be hidden bullish divergence present? Oh, what do you fucking know? It's almost as if this market basically trades together in unison. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy, man. Just like the guy from, what is it, Old School? It's like, you're crazy, man. You're crazy, man. All these cryptocurrencies trade with each other. Yeah, how fucking wild is that? Are you telling me that arbitrage is viable in markets where you have the same fucking underlying denominator? Crazy shit, sir. Crazy fucking shit. People always ask that question. It's like, why does everything in this market move together? Well, literally everything in the fucking world moves together, huh? It's weird how that works. It's even more concerning when your shitcoin isn't moving with everything else. So anyways, looking at this right here. Yeah, so if we do confirm a higher low, which again is not the case as of right now, but I'd imagine that if Bitcoin does it, which it's looking like it's going to try, then we'll see Ethereum do it as well. You can target a move back up towards 1720. Sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. Very likely you'd see a move back up to 1720 or 1730, and probably set it up for further accumulation coming into next week. Crazy shit, sir. Crazy shit indeed. But again, that is not confirmed just yet. There is pressure down right now on all lower term timeframes as it stands. Here's your 4 hour, here's your 3 hour, here's your bi-hourly, and your hourly right here. Actually, hourly and bi-hourly both have hidden bullish divergence already confirmed. What about 3 hour? Potential be confirmed on this next tick. Actually will be confirmed with any sort of a closure, basically here or higher above 1640ish region. And again, that would initiate a target back up towards about 1720ish, about 1720ish. So fair enough. If you do see it confirmed on the 3 hour, extremely likely it's going to roll on over to the 4 hour as well, and so I'd be looking for that to pop back up. Now, of course, if it does not get confirmed, we come back down, where would be the next sort of backstop on price action. I'd be looking for a retest of the 1440 to 1450-ish breakout level is where I'd be looking for, and I'd be looking for, at the very least, a short-term bounce there, and then I want to come back tomorrow and see it in real time. Traditional markets, not a good time to be looking at that. We can look at maybe one Bitcoin pairing. I think Ethereum Bitcoin is going to be the most relevant just because that does seem to act as an index for the greater market. And what do you know? Looking very bullish here, actually. Yes, I'm sure a lot of people are going to tell you that this is a rejection of the 200 simple. No, it is not, at least not in its current posturing. Weekly RSI tells the story. Hidden bullish divergence back into the bullish control zone. Very fucking strong. As momentum also turn up as well. Plus expanding volatility, I do believe. Yes, indeed. Still retaining that positive slope on the moving average. I'd have to say that is still likely over time, over these next few months, to make its way up towards 6 million and beyond Satoshi. So there you go. There you go. Anyways, I think this video is already too long. Yeah, it's about 33 minutes too long already. I need to get on the slopes, man. I am going to enjoy the fuck out of this. I'm also going to enjoy the fuck out of looking at some Magic and Money business a little bit later. But for the time being, I should also remind myself to remind you that while I am doing my best to keep in contact and keep up with all the emails and in Discord messages and whatnot while I'm out here, please do keep in mind that I do not have all my facilities available to me. And Elsa as well, as she yells in the background. and like I said, we promise to do our best with getting back to you when we can. Our connectivity is a bit limited here and there, but if all else fails, I can assure you that we will certainly get back to you by the time that we are situated back in our Helsinki apartment a little bit later this in a couple days here, basically. Anyway, so with that said, I want to wish you the best once again. Take care, enjoy life, enjoy yourself, and until next time, my friends.